Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.
This is the 49er Faithful UK show, and that was week 12. And that might very well be that for the 2024 season. A battered Niners team were never really in it from start to 38-10 finish. And to be honest, it could have been worse. I'm Gareth Ellis, but since misery loves company, we'll see if we can squeeze some positivity and virtual podcast hugs out of Paul Hope.
That wasn't pretty.
Naji Kura.
Hello, everyone.
And Lee Gowland.
Hey, fellas.
It's good to see you, Jen. Lots of smiles. Simple question. Raging or resigned?
Raging.
Somewhere in between.
And resigned.
Yeah, somewhere in between.
Yeah, resigned.
There is still hope. There is
Resigned
hope.
for me, yeah.
There's always hope, Naji.
There is always hope.
There is.
But yeah, we're going to talk about it.
We could talk about something else. Anything else happened?
We could actually talk about something.
No.
The Warriors
We
again.
so.
All right.
We could
college.
talk about.
Let's go to college.
Oh, we could talk about the crazy
let's
ends
not go to
the
college.
early slate of games.
Oh yeah,
I don't
the
know
early
about you
slate
chaps.
was
The
mental.
early slate of games was really like standard, and then those last 15 minutes were crazy.
Yeah. Again, I think we're not the Cowboys. You know, I know they won, but
Positivity. You've leapt straight in.
we're not the
We're
Jets.
not the Cowboys. That's
We're not-
always positive.
We're not the Panthers. We're not the Bears.
Mhm.
Oh, positive.
Right. Are those
We're
your
still only
positive?
one game back.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I mean, ultimately,
It's the hope that kills you.
it is a hope that kills you.
Yeah. So, talking points then. Who is going to be first?
I'll give you my three first. I'm happy to go first. Yeah. Offense, defense, special teams. There's my three
That's
talking
exactly
points.
what I was going to say.
Garbage, and more garbage.
Oh,
Okay, there we are. Well, sometimes I just wish you'd get off the fence, Lee. So, Paul,
It's
what have you
difficult.
got?
Well, I wasn't expecting Gowland to drop the bomb. I've got missed tackles galore, couldn't establish the run, and is this guy falling in?
Oh, Naji, what have you got?
Jordan Mason. That's my first point. We're gonna have to talk about that. Surely we should have found a better backup. I know it's hard to
Mhm.
talk about Brandon Allen. I'm sure.
Yeah.
We've got one, but he was on the bench.
Well, I don't know. We're going to talk about backups anyway. And then, is it time for Sorensen to go?
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Straight in.
Yes, and he can be joined by his mate Brian Schneider as well. And by the OC. He can go as well.
There's no hanging about with Lee, is there?
I'm
No,
not
he is
mixing.
raging. Is it
He
not?
is.
I am. Absolutely
raging.
raging.
You are.
And I'll
you're
go
going
back-
pink.
Yeah, I'll go back to that's because I'm red hot. I'll go back to something I said in the
Speak for
preview
yourself.
show when I turned around and said, "Dare I say it?" Has Kyle lost the locker room? Because you watched that game last night and the players just didn't seem interested at all.
No.
Mm.
They don't want to be there, did they?
No.
No, none of them, apart from Kittle, maybe. Yeah.
It's cheerful. We're straight into it. From last week's show, I had too many flags, too little depth, and running out of time. And I thought I'm just going to stick with that as well, except it's run out of time.
Yeah.
Because nothing changed. Nothing changed. It was worse. Where should we start with this? I'm going to have to start with Lee, because otherwise he is going to explode. In which case, Sorensen. Go on then. We will start with Sorensen.
Yeah,
Well,
let's face it.
let me preface this, because I said
Go on.
something about a week ago or 2 weeks. Well, I think during the bye week that I said that we should start seeing improvement after the bye week, because this is where Saleh and Demeco Ryans started
Yeah.
showing that they had a grip on the defense, and the defense was getting better. Where we are now is completely the opposite. We're
Exactly.
regressing. So
Yeah.
take it away. Lee.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell, really. I mean, we are getting worse. And it all culminated in those back-to-back flags for having 12 people on the field.
Oh my god!
How
Go by
can he
that.
do that
Oh my
back to
God.
back? It is absolutely ridiculous. He shows absolutely no emotion on the sidelines. He doesn't look as though he's the type of coach that can actually motivate his players. You listen to him in the press conference afterwards, and he just does not feel full of confidence at all. We've brought in Brandon Staley as the assistant head coach, and we all kind of thought, well, it's really going to be Brandon Staley that's pulling the strings back there. If that's the case, Brandon Staley needs to leave as well and not let the door hit him on the arse on the way out, because it's just been an absolute shower. I mean, Fred Warner, he was absolute garbage last night.
Yep.
What's happened to Fred Warner over the last 3 games? It's got to be the coaching, and it has to be Sorensen. Well, to be honest, this is all on Kyle. Everything is on Kyle. He's the head coach, so everything happens, and it's him. It's Kyle Shanahan. So I think he's failed as an OC. We've seen that week after week after week, and now he's failing as a head coach because he's not making the decisions he needs to make. Sorensen shouldn't be defensive coordinator against the Bills. He needs to get rid of him. And I know people say you can't do it in season. Yes, you can. When it's as bad as this, yes, you can. And for the question, who do I want to bring in? I don't care. Bring in Richard Sherman. Bring back Steve Wilkes.
Yeah.
Do anything in your gift to bring in Bill Belichick just to the end of the season,
I mean,
and ask him to
right.
take over the defense.
I mean, to be
Because
fair, to you
we
there,
need
Lee,
someone.
you said there, like, I know last week, everyone was like, fire Kyle Shanahan, and some of the Kyle Shanahan brigade, namely me, was asking who you'd replace. But I think that's different when you replace the head coach. It kind of filters down within. But when you're replacing a coordinator, as you've just said there, he tried it, bringing an outsider in last year, chapped with Wilkes, and apparently the fit wasn't there with Kyle, with Wilkes, with the players, with the scheme. And it links in with the missed tackles that I wanted to raise, Gareth. We were all sat at home last night, right? Wasn't expecting miracles. And any Packers fans who have tuned into Glow, the Packers weren't that great when you watch it. Jordan Love tried everything to, you want an interception? You want an interception? They just ran the ball well, but it was the missed tackles. I mean, a stat flashed up, was it the most missed tackles from a team this season? Yeah. Nobody batted an eyelid. No one in Discord dropped a bomb. The banter in Discord last night, I think we were all just tuning in, expecting the worst and hoping for the best. And like you said, Lee, I understand your frustrations, and maybe Kyle does need to step up as a head coach and say, right, I need to make some changes rather than wait until the end of the season. So maybe we do see a change at coordinator, defensive coordinator, before Sunday. But what do you reckon, Najee?
No, yeah, I think we said it before this game. Something needs to change, and as Gareth pretty well put, nothing has changed. Like, it was exactly the same game plan. It was the same defense. It was the same people on the field. I think we blitzed like twice, which was the only difference we did. And nothing's changed, and we get absolutely hammered. We let them score. What was the worst defeat in Kyle Shanahan era? The worst defeat in it. It's just the worst game we've ever played, and that's games with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, and a garbage defense with no one on the field. Now it's not even so much the, they were better and they scored points and they ran really well and all that. The discipline and the lack of commitment, and there was just nothing. There was absolutely nothing on that defense. No one wanted to be on the field. They all just wanted to go home. And that is coaching. That's 100% coaching. And that shouldn't happen. Not for a team that's supposed to be up there winning the Super Bowl. So, yeah, something needs to change. And I think Sorensen has proven, and he's had 12 games now, to do something. And he hasn't done anything. It's just, and if you look back, all the game we lost, we could have been much, much better on defense and won games, helped our offense. And I'm not saying the offense isn't the problem either, don't get me wrong. But this is an easy fix.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
One problem at a time, Najee, and there's quite a lot.
But
stay with D.
We were the most dominant defense for years and years and years and years, and this has gone. Admittedly, we are missing so many people. It is, if you look at the starting 11 that we played yesterday versus the starting 11 that played last January, which was 8 months ago. It's not that long ago. I think there was 2 players that played both in those games, which is Fred Warner and Demo, and everybody else was new. Oh, I guess
Jair Brown probably.
Jair Brown would have been in, so 3 players out of 11. That's ridiculous. That is a massive turnaround, and it's not easy to overcome.
But the thing is that doesn't have an impact on being able to tackle.
No,
or
exactly.
jump
This is
offside
what
all
I'm
the
saying. Had we lost, 24-23 or 24-17 or whatever it is, but we got absolutely obliterated. That first half was embarrassing as a defense.
Yeah.
20 missed
Completely
tackles in the game.
20 missed tackles.
15 in the first half, according to the Fox broadcast. Sorry to interrupt you there. That 20 was the most of the year. And as you said, Lee, Sorensen's mentioned it in his press conference about we're being too aggressive. We're leaving our feet too early. That goes back to the coaching. Josh Jacobs is a decent running back in the NFL. The Packers have done well to pick him up, but he isn't CMC level. And last night, Najee was bursting through that first level with a pace, and then he was getting to the second level. He was getting to the third level, and it was like, this is embarrassing. I mean, Jordan Love threw for less than Allen, and yet a lot of people are like, why did Kyle Shanahan start that quarterback with a broken finger? Establish the run game. The Packers did to us what we expected Kyle Shanahan to do to them.
Yeah. They did. They bullied us in the way that we used to bully teams, and I was resigned to that at the back end of the third quarter. I was just thinking, this is what it feels like to be on the back end of the games where we've battered people in the last couple of years, where we've just taken people's will to live, but at some point in the third quarter, and they just want to go home. And that was us. We just wanted to go home. I think the defensive side of the ball has had the brunt of the injuries. We all saw the big injury list of the amount of players we've lost, including players. I think, we've forgotten they've been on IR for so long from the beginning of the season. And the heart has been ripped out of that defense. But I thought this was perhaps the first night where the wheels really seemed to come off. And I think even when we saw with Salah's early time, when the scheme wasn't working, the players were still trying. And you just didn't get that impression last night. And it wasn't like it was a snow game on a short week or something like that, where you can kind of forgive a bit of fatigue. They just did not. They looked exhausted, and they looked like they didn't want to be there. And they've got an even bigger task next Sunday. So I think you do have to look at coaching. Sorensen has not inspired me. Often when I see Sorensen come up on my Facebook feed, I think it's Shanahan. He's trying to model himself, I think, on Shanahan. Maybe there's an issue there. People are getting confused between who is who. But yeah, I can't really say anything or very little positive about the defense, other than Malik Mustafa certainly seemed to be putting some effort in.
Well, and Demo. Yeadham had a good game.
Yeah, I thought the secondary were all right, Lee, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they didn't have much to do.
Yeadham and Mustafa.
But it's that defensive line when you've lost that middle of the defensive line that always used to be so strong. That's where they just battered that, because we've got journeyman and undrafted free agents and others.
Green had a reasonable game as well, other than that one play where he got completely torched.
The front seven, Gareth. That's what we're complaining about.
Yeah. That is the problem. Like we've got a decent defense. Like, you can see this defense performing. There's absolutely no reason to miss 20 tackles.
Completely agreed. We just don't have a decent coach.
Just don't have decent coaching.
But you said
the penalties.
You said it.
It's just no. We knew we were in for a hard game without Bosa, without Brock, without Trent, without Mooney. We knew it was going to be hard. And then you put yourself in a bigger hole, and that's just coaching. That's preparation. That's not the players. That's not this, that's just all down to coaching.
Salah and Ryans, they would have run through walls for those coaches.
Yeah.
And even at 20 points down, they would have not wanted to embarrass that coach, and they just didn't.
It just doesn't exist, and it's lacking. And in a season where you struggle, you need that, and we don't have it. And this is what happens: you get embarrassed.
I mean, Lafleur did to us, didn't he, what we wanted Shanahan to do. We kept his foot on the throat. Josh Jacobs had 106 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wilson had 41 yards. And you talked about Fred Warner. I don't know about you chaps, but I've been listening to the stuff after the game. And apparently the 49ers defensive players were shocked because they didn't see some of the looks for the run game that Green Bay had done. So that means they either weren't watching the game tape, Sorensen hadn't prepared them, but apparently they didn't adjust until half-time. And like we all said at half-time, it was too late. And we've been crying out for Jordan Mason to run the ball. The Packers had a good recipe last night. Oh, Josh Jacobs, run the ball. What did they do? They just kept feeding him. And like I said, I wasn't trying to take anything away from the Packers. They won the game, but they weren't lights out. But what did you make before we move off the defence with Shanahan coming at the podium and saying that it was embarrassing? Because normally coaches don't do that at this stage of the season. They normally wait till afterwards, or they normally sugarcoat it. But the fact that he stood there and was like, it was embarrassing. The run defence was disappointing. We got out of the gaps too many times. We missed too many tackles. That was one of the worst halves I've been a part of. Then Fred Warner came to the podium and said, pretty much this is the worst game I've been involved in. And you said it, Angie. We've had some horrific nights at the start of this regime.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise because we all went into this game hoping, but we didn't expect this, did we?
No. This was a winnable game. All we had to do was join up. We didn't. So it was embarrassing. And this is why something needs to happen. Somebody needs to get fired. I know it's not nice, but I'm not having 6 weeks of this. I'm not sitting through that. That's not going to be fun.
Worst defeat in the history between us and the Packers, and it's a storied history. The worst defeat in this 74-game history. I will pay for this, chaps, next time I see my mates who are Packers fans. So I am raging a little bit, Lee, but overall it was just, I just kind of gave up hope at half-time and just thought...
Yeah, so I was done and dusted after the first.
Before we move off that, I'll just leap in on that, Paul, because I was trying to think of some silver linings earlier, and the one tiny silver lining I could find that was Aaron Rodgers might have been watching that game raging, saying, "Where the hell was this when I was playing for Green Bay?" So that put a little smile on my face. Anyway, let's go to offense.
That's a good point.
I like that, Gareth.
Jordan Mason and the offense. What shocked me in that game was how poor we were defensively. It's a second string quarterback. Trent Williams is out. I wasn't expecting fireworks and a 50 burger. But even by our standards, that was disappointing. Jordan Mason, let's start with that, Adji.
I mean, we've been calling for this guy to be in since, just since CMC has gone back. And the guy was the leading rusher in the league before CMC came back. Why does he not play more? I don't understand. I don't know what else to say. I just want him to be in the game. And it doesn't even have to have the ball. I just want him to be in the game. He was part of 18% of the snaps. 18%. The guy was the leading rusher, not just on the Niners, in the league before CMC came back. Explain to me why he doesn't play.
Exactly. It makes sense.
It's all I can think of is doghouse, because he comes in for one play, he'll get 8 yards,
14 yards,
and then it's like Shanahan's like, no, just needed to remind you, back on the bench. I don't get it. I do not
understand. And it's not even just like, oh, well, CMC is better, CMC is on fire, CMC is running really well. The guy comes in for one play, runs for 14 yards, and then you don't see him. It's like, well, the guy's just ran for 14 yards. Leave him in the game and give him the ball again. It's 4th and 2. We go empty. Yeah. Why is Jordan Mason not lining up next to him?
I was just about to say that.
I'm just completely baffled by this entire thing. And it's really symptomatic of entire offense and the way we've been playing this season. We're just bad. We're just a bad team. We're making bad decisions. We're calling bad plays, and we're not executing well. It's all that is simple. If we had an OC, I would call for them to be fired, and we'd fire DC, OC, and start fresh. This 6 games.
And special teams. Don't forget special teams.
Let's not go there.
It's the night of the long knives.
I've got to say,
Shove them all.
you're giving Pua Chris Wood bulletin board material. First of all, he's going to be a gif of Nadji pointing his hands in. Just let him in the game. Just let him in the game, which is right. Night of the long knives. But I mean, Nadji, like you said it, why can't both of them be on the field at the same
Why can't
time?
they both be on the field?
The Lions are getting a lot of plaudits. Arguably the best team in the NFC at the moment. You know, everyone's kind of the people's champions. Two-headed monster with their running back game. Jared Goff, quick slants. It's like the Kyle Shanahan playbook of old, but he's plugged in two running backs. Why does it have to be one or the other?
Like Shanahan used to.
Yeah.
We used to do this.
And go with the
Why-
hot hand.
Why do we not do this anymore? I
CMC.
don't understand.
He's had his head turned by CMC and he can't see past it.
CMC
We
is
all
not
love
even that.
CMC.
He's not even good.
Well,
If CMC was
I
lighting
know,
up,
he's not in form, but I know. No, I know
He's
what you're
not
saying.
good, though.
It doesn't take an expert
this season
to recognise.
he hasn't been good yet. I know he will get there, hopefully.
But
He's not good
even
yet.
if he was, surely Shanahan's realised he's got to take some of the load off him, some of the mileage off him. And that's perfect for Mason. And Mason has always had that ability to get you the 2 more yards than you think. And that's why I thought, particularly, we're going to go for it on. We're going to have 4 downs here, and it's like 3rd and 4 or something. And I'm just screaming, give it to Mason. If he doesn't get the 4, you know he's going to get 2 or 3. You know it. He always does. Put him in. And I think we did a pass attempt, and then we're still, 4th and 4 or whatever. And you're like, oh. Anyway, that was.
Nah, I mean, to be fair, before Lee says,
I was resigned before I started talking, and now I'm raging.
We're all raging.
Lee's infectious.
It doesn't take.
My job here is done.
I look at him smiling. I mean, it doesn't take an expert to recognise McCaffrey isn't McCaffrey, as you said, Nadji. I mean, he kept trying to feed him 31 yards on 11 carries, 3 rushing yards in the first half. And like you said, Mason came in and put to bed any rumours that he was injured because he just went straight through. And you're like, Kyle, why did you get out of your own? The trick play. We were calling for a trick play, bit of tongue-in-cheek in the preview show. As soon as that happened, I thought, here we go, chaps. Kyle Shanahan thought, right, okay, got a game in our hands. But it was just so pedestrian, the play calling. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Shanahan, which I know Lee wants to fire the OC. Now Nadji's got on board of that train, but that wasn't the Niners that we love watching that last night. It was just painful. And it didn't matter who was at QB in that kind of play calling last night.
I don't know.
I mean, it did.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, you start the quarterback with a broken finger.
Well, apparently that
when
doesn't
Green
matter
Bay-
to Kyle. Kyle was like, because our friend of the show, Mr. Kent, asked about the broken finger and he was dismissed quite abruptly.
I mean,
by
it's his
Kyle.
non-throwing hand, and it was 2 weeks ago. Whatever.
Yeah, but he still
whatever,
needs to take the ball in that hand, and he fumbled the ball.
Whatever. He didn't fumble it because he was holding it in the hand. That's
Well,
honestly
we
the
don't
least
know
of our problem in this point. It's just like
I mean, I had a bad feeling about the first couple of series, but I ended up thinking that Allen didn't cost us a game. I don't think the interception was on him. I think out of our talking points, Debo's had a lucky escape there.
Yeah.
Because that was on him because he
Yeah,
looked timid. Can you imagine saying that about Debo like last year?
no, I do not know what's going on.
Yeah, he needs to get himself locked in.
Fox broadcast missed an opportunity. That should have
Tabor
flashed
told him.
straight to Tabor Pepper on the sideline. That's what it should have happened. But no, you're right. Debo was bad. I mean, I wasn't too fussed about that interception because the throw looked on point. It was the one where he kind of juggled it and fumbled it, and he looked like a quarterback starting his first game since 2021.
He did. And there's a funny reason for that because he was. But there we go.
That leads us to the question is, surely there's a better backup out there.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs.
The fact that Josh Dobbs is number 3 makes me think he's worse. I still think we're pretty good at evaluating.
I don't think he's worse. I just don't think he's the quarterback that Kyle wants.
Yeah.
Who was the...
Because he's too run happy.
Yeah, he's too off script.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say the Packers picked up that lad from the Titans, didn't they? They plugged him in the start of the season and they won a couple of games.
Yeah.
So, it just shows, like you said, we were quite stubborn to think, right, it was between Allen and Dobbs. And it comes back to bite you in this league if you don't have a decent backup.
But it's not like we haven't been there before. And I think, we didn't think about it at the time. I thought Sam Darnold was a great as a backup, not because of his ability, but because of his experience and the time he's had in the league and the amount of games he started, and just having that around Brock, I thought was good. It's now seeming like maybe we should have perhaps gone for somebody with a bit of experience, like, you know, an Andy Dalton type guy,
Yeah.
somebody who might have had the experience and someone who's at least got some games under his
Joe
belt.
Flacco.
In Daniel Jones incoming, obviously.
Oh no, no. But to be fair, I think that
just to cheer
Daniel
you
Jones
up.
could have been better. No, you're right. The guy is 2-10 in the NFL. Why
But
do we have
because
to rely on him?
because he knows the playbook and can probably execute it on the practice field. But
Yeah.
I didn't think he did too badly, and I don't
I don't
think
think he
he
did
was
too
the
badly.
reason we lost the game at all.
No, that is true. Although that pick was pretty damning, and that will lead us to the next discussion how bad Coyotes are managing momentum once again. But the 2 fumbles are horrible. I know he recovered one, but the second one is just typical bad QB business. And the pick, yeah, it's on Debo, but also, I mean, we should have never been throwing the ball anyway. No, I don't think you played too bad. I guess we didn't play.
Here's a
great
stat
either.
for you, Nadji. He had more yards and a higher completion percentage than the $220 million quarterback stood on the other sideline. However, we've always said in this show, the eye test. And I don't think he passed the eye test.
He made some nice throws.
He did make some nice for us, too.
And there were a few moments where I thought our offense looked a bit more like the offense of old because Shanahan had gone back to some of the play action, and there was a couple of places where there was one Kittle was open, there was one where Jennings was wide open, and you thought, oh, maybe this is good. Maybe Shanny's had to go back to the simple stuff, and then you realise it's just a fleeting mirage and smoke and mirrors, and then we're back to inexplicable trying things that don't work.
I think what was difficult, we talked about CMC, we talked about Mason. Mason had 3 carries. CMC had 11 carries. You look at the Green Bay offense, they had 33 of the game's first 39 plays. And we were all sat at home thinking, if you not got the ball, and Green Bay made it look very easily. I think I saw in the Discord, it was men against boys. Yeah, it was. It was humbling as a 49ers fan. Remember this time last year? You know, we beat the brakes off Dallas. You know, we smashed the Eagles. And to sit at home, Nadji, and be like, I know what's coming our way. Logging on social media after this game is not going to be pretty. Yeah. And that's why I was more resigned, Lee, than raging. However, you were very red in the face at the start, boss. So come on, join in. You fired us up, and then you've gone on mute. What's going on?
It's because you're talking. You can't get a word in edgeways here.
Go on then. The floor is yours, Lee.
So as well as sacking the OC, I've got another sack candidate for the offense as well. Jake Brendel. Yeah, if he never plays another snap for the 49ers, I will not lose sleep over that. He was absolute garbage. He has been pretty much most of the season as well. And what was surprising was poor old Pooney. It must have rubbed off on him because he had an absolute mare for the first time this season. He's been absolutely excellent until, obviously, last night. Debo getting into fights before the game kicked off. Why are you doing that? You're a captain. You shouldn't be doing that. So, I mean, that'll have had the Green Bay players wound up. And if you're going to do that, at least stand up and be counted when the game starts. And to be honest, he was largely missing in action.
Kick return was a shock.
Well, yeah, the kick return, that was a good... Yeah,
obviously.
That counted. And we'll get under special teams in a second. The other sack candidate. But yeah, I mean...
Garbage. I'll just throw it in there.
Yeah. Nadji said it. We're just doing the same things over and over and over again. And it's obvious over the last 3 or 4 games now, other teams know how to stop us. And Kyle is not adjusting.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's an arrogance thing.
Problem.
Or he thinks it's on the players and not him.
I agree with you on Brendel. I think Puny's faults were to do with Brendel and the snap count. And I think that one you talked about, I think everybody moved, but Brendel was the one who was snapping the ball. But yeah, that just set the tone, didn't it, Lee?
I mean, new quarterback, you know, I can give a little bit for some of the offensive line penalties, but too many of them. And I think now defensive coordinators have got a difficult decision. Do you attack McKivitz or do you attack Brendel? It's difficult. I think
That's true.
McKivitz is perhaps. I don't know whether he's better or whether people have just actually said, well, we can just attack straight up the middle. It's even more effective. So people are getting bullied. But this always comes back to what I bang on about, just lack of investment in the O-line, And if you want any sort of proof of that, look at the Lions and the Eagles. They've got good defensive lines. If you've got a good offensive line, you can take average or good quarterback and make him look great. You can take good running backs and make them look great. And we've got neither.
I do agree that new quarterback, new cadence, new thing will lead to penalties and false starts and that kind of stuff. But also, coaching should take care of this. This is the NFL. Those people should be prepared to the new stuff and repped and ready to go. And also, the game should be simpler so there's less mistakes. And it's just not happening. We knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and we put ourselves even further hole by having those stupid penalties. But it's on the play calling. Just you don't have to be fancy. You don't have to be, just go back down to basics. So at least you don't make any mistakes, because mistakes kill you in this league. And it's unbelievable. I really do have a beef with ROC, and it's 10-17. We've got the ball. All we have to do is just hang in there and just make it a dirty game. Just hang in.
1 yard at a time.
1
yard at a time.
And
One play.
Even if you don't score on every drive, pin them back and make this game go the distance, because you never know what's going to happen. How many games have we lost this year? Just like this. People hung around, and then you get a good play your way, and you get a field goal and you win the game. No, we're just going to throw the ball and try and score on every play and try and score the most beautiful design play ever, just so we can have a bit of ego shining. It's just, no. Just give the ball to Jordan Mason and to CMC. Run the ball, and if it doesn't work, we'll punt. It's okay. It doesn't matter. But that just doesn't exist. And we throw the ball away, and it's a pick, and then we're 24 points down. And then we have to throw the ball, and then bad things happen. It's just all on coaching. This is 100% coaching, and there's been no improvement, because now this is definitely the 7th game we lose. Exactly the same way, except this one was even worse.
At least this wasn't a heartbreaker right at the end. That was one of my other silver linings. At least we knew we were beaten.
It's a trend, though,
well
isn't it,
before the fourth quarter.
It was a heartbreaker in the third. It makes no difference, does it? It's just...
Yeah. I don't think any of us are surprised we lost, if we're being honest. I know we were very bullish going into this game, and we did our prediction show on Thursday, and then all the news broke, and we stuck to our predictions, which was good. Yeah. But like you said, Najee, this team continues to shoot themselves in the foot in the most spectacular of ways, on offense, on defense, on special teams, and it's an 11-game trend now. I know we've won games this season, but the issues we've talked about, we've come into this, week 12, and we're still talking about special teams. We're talking about missed tackles. We're talking about execution. And you've said it, Energy, the coaching. This is the NFL. They're supposed to be coached better than this.
We've only beaten bad teams, and I think we've only played reasonably well. Jets for week 1 and Patriots, who are a bad team, week 4, week 5. Those are the only times where I think we've looked reasonably like ourselves. I think all of the others, we've squeaked out some wins, and sometimes they've gone against us, and we fooled ourselves into thinking, oh, well, we'll put it right next game. And we've run out of games and don't appear to be any closer to getting it right. If anything, we appear to be further away. Yeah. And it's not just the injuries.
And this is what I'm going back to again, is if we'd looked better than last week and we lost a game, I wouldn't be so mad about it. But we really didn't. We looked far worse, and that is the problem, and that's 100% whole coaching. That's not the players. The players are not got that much worse in 6 days. That doesn't happen. It's
pretty bad when you're in the Discord chat and your most used emotions are the yellow flag, and it's not a fault of the referees. I mean, what was it, 200 yards in penalties?
Ridiculous.
It was just ridiculous. The turnovers, the Packers did what good teams do. punished us on all 3 of the turnovers, which we always say on this show, mistake-free football, win the turnover battle. And we didn't do that, but the penalties were getting out of hand. Chris Wood, that gif you dropped with Kyle Shanahan looking rather angry and all the flags at the top was pretty epic. So, we've got to give a shout out, Nadji. Discord got a lot of us through that game last night.
That is the only positive that I have about this game yesterday. We're going to talk about it later. We're on fire.
Oh, no, there is some of the positives. Like I said before we start recording, Paul wasn't here. The biggest positive for me was the fact that it was shown live in the UK, which means it's blacked out on Game Pass for 24 hours. So I haven't been able to rewatch it before I've done the podcast today.
Yeah,
I thought that was a
Mercy.
huge positive.
Yeah, mercy.
I thought you were going to lead in with George Kittle. It was pretty incredible, and I did enjoy that touchdown. But yeah, you're right, boss. It is blacked out at the moment. So
So George Kittle moved up to 4th all time on the 49ers receiving.
What a shame. We could have been celebrating, and here we are. I don't even think we want to talk about George, despite him trying his hardest to look good, and he did look good. George is I don't care. I don't care if he's bad. We just need to keep him.
His numbers are better than last year.
He's what Debo isn't. He is that leader on the offense, and he will do everything he can to help his new quarterback. And and it's just not what we've seen from Debo.
No.
I think. I don't want to pick on him directly, but he's having a poor season, but he also doesn't look that angry about having a poor season. He looks.
Yeah. He's supposed to be a captain of the team. He didn't speak to the media before we move off George Kittle. A reporter asked him, "George, you're a very positive person. Does that game test your optimism?" He just put, "No, why would it? It was definitely an uphill grind, but we'll see what we're made of for the rest of the year." George, you're a better man than me. I'm normally pretty positive, but at the moment, I am struggling, chaps. No excuses, and I am
To be fair, when you're in a game, you don't see half of the stuff that we see as fans from the big screen with the replay and everything. So,
but I just mentioned that because he stood at the podium and he's answered the questions, and like Gareth said there, Debo, come on, own up. What did he? That one.
It does feel like he's checked out, doesn't it? It's just not good.
But I think this is. It's not just the blame of the coaches. I think Shanahan has done a great job at holding the team together through some really tough times. Some injury-riddled seasons, some really tough. The heartbreakers, the NFC Championship game where Brock got injured, and eventually, if you do that for a long enough period, your message just isn't going to land anymore. I don't care who you are. Eventually, I think you can only maintain that for so long. And I think coaches have seen that with players. Sometimes that message just can only land and have impact for so long. And then some players will just kind of check out from that. And I don't think I don't think it's poor coaching. I think it's human nature.
I agree, but there is definitely poor coaching.
You expect more of a professional because the rest of us have to at work if we're not, feeling appreciated or work's not going well or the rest of it. It's being a professional, isn't it? So
I think it's partially that, Gareth, but I also think it's a little bit simpler than that as well.
Go on.
I think the players are seeing exactly the same thing as what all the fans are seeing. And like I said, I think potentially he has lost that locker room. He needs to change, and he needs to bring in an OC to change things up. He can't do it.
There's no way people aren't saying, why isn't Jordan Mason playing? This is the simple things that we've all seen. There's no way a bunch of people have got the sentiment, whether they express it or not. It's there, and everybody can see it. And the same with Debo. Everybody can see that he's not playing well, but they're probably not asking the question whether that's getting sorted or not. It's just, you're rightly, something is wrong somewhere, and nothing is getting done because it feels like a bit of a dictatorship where you can't really say anything, otherwise you just play. And
you've got to ask, Mason. I just feel sorry for him because he must be sitting there thinking, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
What do I have to do to prove myself? He can go to his coach. Is it Bobby Turner, isn't it? Running back.
Yeah, Bobby Turner, running back coach.
He can say to it, okay, coach, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to get more game time? I was doing well at the beginning of the season. What do I need? And then is Turner going to Shanahan to say, look, Mason's hungry, he's fit. Why can't we get him into the game a bit more? Am I being naive at the simplicity of that's what I imagine kind of happens in the running back room of them getting together to say to their coach, and then for their coach to represent them to usually an OC, and for the OC to represent them to a head coach.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it happens. That's exactly how it should happen. And even if Jordan Mason doesn't say, what do I need to do? Bobby Turner should be able to turn around to his OC and say, hey, this guy was leading the league. Why is he not playing more? Why is he not on the field?
I mean, you've said it there, Najee. We all know Kyle Shanahan is the king. He has the power. And maybe, we all joke. We all do this show. We're all friends off the screen. I know fine well we would hold each other to account. We listen to each other's ideas. And like you've said there, Kyle Shanahan, is he that stubborn? But then equally, there's the human element of, we're talking X's and O's. That end of last season was emotionally draining for all of us. And you look at this team, and we were all kind of had the bravado to think, right, we're going to run it back. But maybe it's just taking its toll. Maybe it's just one of those years. The people at training camp were saying the vibes weren't quite there, and we all laughed it off. And there was, Ayuk had the wrong colour shorts on, and things just weren't quite right from the start. Maybe
and I think
the human element of the game.
Leaders weren't there. I think Trent Williams wasn't there. Obviously, Ayuk was hanging around, but obviously not practicing. Greenlaw wasn't there. I think there's and to be honest, we lost Armstead as well, and sometimes it's one of these maybe quieter in terms of public profile guys, but who is actually doing a lot. I think his leaving was, I think, maybe sent ripples through some of the players as well, in terms of, hang on, this guy has given absolutely everything for this team, and they've just thrown him away. Or it's easy to see how the guys on his side could look at it that way.
It was definitely a business decision. You're right, and it would be silly of us to not think the Super Bowl loss has impacted this team. Of course it has. It impacted us. It impacted them even more. And it was a heartbreaking loss. And it's the second one in 4 years, That's hard to stomach. And as soon as things don't really go your way, it's very easy to be like, all right, F this. It's not a year. Never mind. But again, if you have the right people in the locker room to keep that fire alive, it should never go away. And we do have a bunch of rookies that weren't part of the team that do have the fire like Mustafa. You need to be able to feed off that. And, it's every year anyway, whether you win it or not. So it's kind of an excuse. And I do agree it absolutely plays a part. But it's not a good excuse. We should be much better than that, whether we lost or not.
Look at Sorensen, look at Staley, look at Wilkes last year. The Wilkes defense in the fourth quarter was shut down. Teams didn't score against us in the fourth quarter. That's when everyone's tired. That's when the mental side of the game comes in. Our fourth quarter defense this year, how many collapses have we had in the fourth quarter? I mean, even the Packers were scoring points on us last night. I was kind of hoping LaFleur might have took his foot off, but then I was thinking, score prediction reasons, keep running that score up, because I don't know what people's points are. But like you said, Wilkes had his criticisms, but the defense seemed to play for him. Is Sorensen more of a yes man?
Yeah, and he went on the sidelines. He took that on the chin. He didn't want to do it. Shanahan demanded he did it, and there was a reaction. And I think, but obviously we don't know quite what went on. There were rumours of obviously that Shanahan had to take charge of game plans in the playoffs because Wilkes's ideas weren't working. So maybe that's what he's gone for Sorensen, someone who sees the game the way he does, and so he can't see that Sorensen's at the fault. But I don't know that Sorensen's got the perhaps the charisma, the personality. You get the feeling that players need that, and they've had that from Ryans and from Salah, who are like one of them, and you get that impression that Sorensen's not that ex-player like Ryans was. That people are going to play for him because he's done that. He's been there. He's done it.
Yeah, I think if we're going to look at what's going on around the league, and we look at the Miami Dolphins, they're basically going through exactly what we're going through and have been since. And I just think it's the same symptoms. You got great people that can challenge, make good plays and probably run a beautiful offense. But you can't just build a football team just on that. And, McDaniels, when he was with us, his job was to run the offense, and we were amazing. And they were bouncing off ideas with Kyle, and there was clearly a level of respect because they worked together for a long time. And now McDaniels doesn't have that. He's the boss at the very top, and it's very questionable decision. The same, and they're struggling, And so, again, I think we need people that can. And Wilkes probably did it, and it cost him his job. But we need people that can push the coaches, because who does it otherwise? And say, hey, this isn't good enough. We need to be better at penalties, tackling, and fundamentals.
This is where John Lynch needs to be probably
and
hands-on.
And the
Well, what did you say in the Discord last night, Nadji? There was a bit when we were having a conversation, and it flashed up to, I think, the Packers room, and there was all the assistants, and you were like, we don't have that. You said that in the Discord last night.
Have we ever seen, and this is since Kyle Shanahan has entered the team, have we ever seen a shot of all our coordinators in the booth? I'm lying. We did do it when we had that woman that was a coach, because of that.
And the beginning of Wilkes.
We see it week in, week out.
And we saw
they're all
Wilkes
wearing the same Shanahan hoodie and Shanahan hat because it's Shanahan.
It's just Shanahan, exactly. But I said it last week. There is a reason these people exist, and there's a reason these people have some kind of say into what's going on, even if it's just advisory. If it's just like, hey, I think we should do this, it plants a seed in coach psyche to be able to, when things really go wrong, we talked about this a few weeks ago, maybe I'll just try that play at this time because nothing is going well this time. But at the moment, it feels like it's a one-man show. No one is going up to him going, hey, this needs to stop now. This is BS. And we're terrible. You need to do something about it. And it's just not happening. And I'm very, very scared what's going to happen to us when we get to Buffalo.
I'm not sure we've got the players who might do that as well. Fred, maybe.
Yeah.
But, you've certainly got the impression someone like Sherman might have done that.
100%.
In terms of, he talks about it, I think, on his podcast. You boot all the coaches out and you lock the doors and the players clear the air. And then the senior players go to the coaches and say, this, like it or not.
Well, Uncle Sherm was on our time last night because he's in London. He was on his podcast. He recorded his reaction show at 1 a.m. So I had a chuckle when I watched that on the way to work this morning, Nadji. So I don't know if he's here for the Bills game. And if you are watching, Richard, jump on the live on Wednesday because you can share a red-eye experience with the 49er faithful UK.
Can we beat Patrick Willis and
live watch along with Richard Sherman? There we go. That'd get Discord bouncing up after dark, wouldn't it?
I think we've covered pretty much everything that was we had in our talking points, apart from special teams.
Oh, can we not, please?
I just said it was Lee's, so Lee can cover it.
Yeah. Let's just sum it up. Sack Brian Schneider.
Yeah.
That is all we need.
That is it. That's just...
You missed your word of the weekly because you've said garbage about 50 times. All you needed to say there was special teams. Garbage. That would have been all you needed to say.
I think you've got
Brian Schneider.
You've got S.
That man has a family.
He does have a family.
A lot of them. Sack his kids. Sack his wife. Sack his parents. Get them out of the organisation.
I will say that Debo return was pretty good, and the hold was not really a hold. Let's face it. That was very, very soft.
If you see it from a different angle that they didn't show initially, then it was definitely a hold.
Was it? Okay, fair.
Personal looks okay.
He had hold of the guy's jersey.
Very clearly.
Yeah, but you can hold inside. That's allowed.
It was outside.
Hold it.
It was outside.
You can't
His
hold
arm was round. Yeah.
Anyway, enough of special teams. Do you have any more positives we can... do you have any positives? We've had some positives.
It is positive for you. It's positive and it's a bold prediction.
Go on.
We're only one game back still. We are one game back from actually hosting a playoff game. And that is unbelievable considering how poorly we've been this season.
Yeah.
But it is reality.
It's the hope that kills you.
It's reality. We are one game back.
Yep.
We're going all the way, guys.
So he started with the
Get the
rage.
brasso out.
You've been watching John Chapman because John Chapman started on a rage, and he said he ended his show with, "I know people don't want to hear this right now, but we're closer to first place in the division than it looks." And I was
Yeah.
like, "There's the positive
It
vibes
only
that I want to
takes one
see."
game to turn things round.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
if we
they're the same players as last year. They've got the ability to do it. And it only takes one game. And what do we always say? It's not how we start, it's how we finish. We come into December. December is the make or break month. And we can do this.
that's true.
One
That is
game
very
back.
true.
However, at this point, I would rather see the younger players start, get the mistakes out the system now, and learn. And if we get to the, if some miracle happens, it happens. But that, for me, I would like to see, as Gareth said, Purcell get more involved. See what you've got
That's
with
too
your
much
first
like
round
giving up.
receiver.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I think let's reconvene
It's
after the
it's
round
it's
game.
that resigned, and it's like I can see us. It's the hope, and then like squeezing out a win against the Bills. We just the NFL's a very honest league. We haven't looked like a good team at any point. We haven't looked like a good team that's inexplicably lost a handful of games due to weird blocked punts or kick returns or anything like that. We just don't look like a good team.
Any given Sunday.
Sunday. But we
Could be this
need them
week.
all
Changes.
to go our way. It could
But
be.
the bad
But
news is
all of what we've talked about, the belief, the players, the belief in the coaches, I don't see it there. And those are the things that can pull the team round.
So can
Yeah.
we get?
Sorry to be a downer, but
no,
yeah,
no,
Gareth,
you're right.
you-
I'm on the resigned side of the
It's fair.
positive. That
It's
is
totally fair. But
we can finish the season. We can start the 2025 season early. Start
I'm
I'm not
looking.
saying a tank.
if
I'm
coming
just
into the
saying-
Rams game, we are 7-7.
You're right. We should. Well,
But you've
We
missed,
should beat
you've
Chicago.
missed an opportunity here, you chaps. Gowland was getting all positive there. So should we have a rather bold prediction, Lee, that you're not going to predict any dirty points on Wednesday's show? Because the way you've just said
Well,
getting the
not
Brasso
at all.
out,
Positive.
Not at
you
all.
must be able to beat the Bills.
I predict what I need to predict.
ooh.
I've got
Right.
a lead to
I'll add
defend.
that to the early dirty points list for Wednesday, shall I?
Anyway, while
Hey, you don't
You
call
can
me
put
Nick
me down,
Sorensen.
isn't
I'm
it?
not going to make stupid decisions.
speaking of which, shall we gloss over the score predictions since we didn't score any?
Well, nobody scored anything.
Well,
It was only the dirty
some
points
dirty
from the
Yeah.
Discord group.
yeah.
Bring the list and we'll name and shame. Why
But
not?
well, I wonder how many of them came up after the news of the missing players. So
Well, all you have to look is how many points we're
Mm.
scoring. I think anybody that's decided to predict less than 17, I think, knew about the injuries and all that. So I mean, the biggest one is Peter Engel, 10-27. You got 10 points out of that. I hope they feel very dirty, those points. A lot of 5 points, 7. Martin.
Enjoy those points, Peter. They're the best points, mate.
Special mention to Gary Parks, who
Gary
predicted
Parks.
the Niners to score 49 points. That is the energy we want to see, Gary.
yeah,
That's
Yes,
right.
Gary.
That's right. That's how you do it. And actually,
Gary's
got
still
2
drunk
points.
from the fall curve.
and it brings the average right down, doesn't it? So that,
He
we
did-
definitely
he did
want to see that.
He did predict the Packers to score 35, so you
Got
know.
him 2 points, which is it was better than we did, to be fair. So yeah, Martin Hughes, you can't blame the government on this one. That is disgusting. 7 points. Who else is in there with 7 points?
I'm
A lot
disappointed
of
with
5
Mark.
points. Yeah,
Disappointed.
very disappointing with
Mhm.
Mark too.
Yeah.
But there you are. You are now on YouTube, named and shamed.
Yeah.
He owned it on X. To be fair, Najee Martin Hughes. He went on the naughty list very early, and Gowland was encouraging him. I don't think I'm not seeing these social media posts, chaps. I was watching.
To be completely honest, had we had the news for the players who were missing on Thursday, I probably would have.
Where's
Oh,
the
we
fun
all
in
would
that,
have,
Najee?
apart
Where's
from
the
Paul.
fun? It's part of the 49er Faithful UK. We record a podcast.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah.
2 hours later, as per usual. Yeah, well, there you go. We all scored 0. I would imagine the podcast faithful would score some points, so they
They
probably
usually
take the
do.
lead, I think. And
They have, yes.
Mm.
And I love that we've learned our lesson and we're bringing the podcast day a day early this week.
So it's
And we're predicting on
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So
more
we don't
difficult.
have any
Yeah.
injury report whatsoever.
Whatsoever.
Great.
I don't even know if Brock will play.
Oh, that's good. No injury report for me to research then. Anyway, is there anything more to say? I think we've had enough of this, haven't we? Coming up for an hour. Surely.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
PSAs.
Mm.
On to PSA. Let's move
Go
on.
on then.
Let's swap this week. We're doing the preview. I was going to say review, but no. Preview on the live Wednesday, 8 o'clock on YouTube. I think the link is already there. So go there,
Wow.
click the
It is, yeah.
notification bell. You'll get a notification when it starts. I don't think I'll be there because I'm
Oh,
three fine
man.
gentlemen will be, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
Should
you
be.
lured us in because you were available last Wednesday.
I
but we
know.
had the awesome Around the NFL chaps on Gary and Matty come and brought the fire. So PSA, it was nice to see Gary Thorpe get his care package from the 49ers, which he shared on social media, Lee. So big shout out to Gary for sharing that. And again,
I didn't
before
see
we
that.
finish off, Najee. So he shared it on, I don't think he put it in the group, but he definitely put it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So
Okay.
it was good that he got rewarded for being the MC. And a final shout out to the Discord
nice.
chat. It was pretty epic, the Discord last night. It kept all our spirits up.
Have to talk about that
yeah.
Discord. I mean, I think there was definitely an impending sense of resignment, and it turned into absolute comical relief. But it was a night for the ages, I think. And Josh gave us some really good feedback at the end that genuinely said that he would have struggled watching that game if it wasn't for the Discord. And I think, again, I just want to say it again because that's the goal of this and the reason we push positivity so hard is because watching football by yourself in a really cold environment, especially when it's winter here, in a dark room, when it doesn't go well, is probably the worst experience you can have watching sports. And you're by yourself. It's not like you can call your mate from the football ground or whatever, or you can't go to the pub because it's 3 o'clock and have a pint and get a little drunk and kind of forget about it. You're just by yourself on a couch and you have to ruminate your own dark thoughts and watch this team completely suck. And this is what we've done all of these game day threads, and they pay off. You know, I had a wonderful time talking about all sorts of nonsense and having a good laugh and reading jokes and just, you know, take this game lightly. I know it's frustrating and difficult and we're all really annoyed by it, but ultimately we have no control. So trying to make light of it and have fun whilst watching us burn down to the ground was pretty good. It was pretty good.
And for those people watching on Sky Go, congratulations, the game has just finished. I'm
Yeah.
checking the
Yeah.
Discord. You've just caught
Yeah.
off.
6 minutes behind everyone. Yeah, no, it was good. It was honestly probably one of the best Discord nights I've had in a long time. It's better when we destroy people and we have fun at the same time.
And a
But
shout out
it was
to
really
the
fun.
community today as well. I mean, you switched the wall back on this morning, Lee, because I was in the office and I thought, here we go. But even the overreaction thread, it's there for a purpose. People shared frustrations, people got some emotion out of the way. But the wall today has been pretty quiet. Again, I think everyone's understood resignment. But there was no arguments. There's no kind of backbiting.
I mean, there's
for
nothing
the
to
admin
argue
team to
here.
sort out.
There's absolutely nothing to argue on.
That's where Lee smiles, takes himself off. See what comes in.
It's just garbage like this. But, you know, yeah, 6 more games. Let's see if we can turn it around.
6 more games.
The season seemed to be going really, really quickly, and now we've still got 6 games.
Yeah, it's dragging over now.
Yeah, it's changing. Anyway,
We could be 11-6, people. We could be 11-6.
Totally. I'm gonna draw a line under this. Thank you, gents. It's been shit.
Thank you.
But it has cheered me up. So thanks to everyone who listens and has hopefully felt like this was a nice, cozy podcast hug to help you through what has been a difficult couple of weeks, let's face it. And if you haven't, you can like and subscribe and all of that sort of stuff. Now, as was mentioned, we will not be doing a preview podcast. We are going to preview the Bills game live on Wednesday. And this is because Dr. Gowland, our chief therapist, recommends cheering yourself up by watching the Giants at the Cowboys on Thursday. So that's why we're not recording. And that could
Football's
be
football.
comedy gold. I think we should do score predictions for that. I'm going to go 3-2.
I think the Cowboys will win. They're a better team. But...
Yeah, but it's even that cheers me up now because you think, well, they're pulling away from a decent draft pick, so
Very true.
everything's good. Well, there we are. We're finished. So you're either hoping for a miracle in Buffalo or hoping the Bills undertake a mercy killing. The choice is yours. But until then, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't